What is up, guys? Sea Level Gold here. Man, I'm here to talk about that deal Francis Ngannou just signed with the PFL. I mean, the dude just pulled that deal straight from his ass. What is that? He's going to be the highest paid fighter in the whole MMA space. I was honestly starting to think that Francis just absolutely fumbled the bag on this one. I mean, he got trashed by Chatri Setong, the one CEO. He also got completely disowned by BKFC, David Feldman. All of them said that Francis just is negotiating for too much, asking for too much. And I don't even talk about Uncle Dana. I mean, that guy's popping a fucking vein in his head right now. He said that Francis will never ever fight in the UFC again, giving him the absolute cold treatment. And honestly, it seemed like the whole fight game promoters, they were all kind of against Francis. And to the outside eye, it looked like Francis was negotiating the deals on his own and asking for these crazy chairman positions in the companies he was trying to get these fights into. To be fair, when we're negotiating these multi-million-dollar deals, if you are just a fighter with no legal background, no background in contract negotiation, it's in your best interests to have some proper representation in the negotiations with you. But Francis was doing it all on his own, so it definitely seemed like the dude was gonna absolutely fumble the bag, but we were all completely wrong. I mean, Francis absolutely shocks the MMA sphere with this deal of his. Now let's talk more about this groundbreaking deal, to be honest. First of all, this is really exciting for the industry. I mean, I know we all love to hate on Francis for doing what he did, but he absolutely managed to negotiate a truly great deal for himself. And this sets the precedent for any other large free agent leaving the UFC and trying to negotiate a deal on their own. Now, firstly, I want to point out that fighters, promoters, these guys are fucking cappers. They cap more than you could believe. I mean, listen to Dana talking about the power slap numbers.
If you take the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, F1, WWE, and who am I forgetting?
Who?
And added them all together, their numbers don't compare to slaps. Yeah.
So you have to keep in mind whenever you discuss the numbers in this game, if you don't have the actual contract to see, you cannot believe 100% what these guys are saying. But they're giving details and approximation towards what are the numbers that Francis is actually making from fighting in the PFL. But yeah, let's actually break down the numbers a bit here. Francis is reported to be making 8 figures to show. 8 figures to show up for these fights. Man, this is completely insane. He's officially the highest paid athlete in the MMA field. Easily. I mean, if you look at Conor McGregor, for example, the cash king, he's not making 8 figures in the UFC to show up for these fights. He could be making well over that when he gets the pay-per-view split. But to show and actually just get 10 million, he's not doing that in the UFC. And for sure, I guarantee you, Conor is drawing way more than Francis is against any opponent, to be honest. I think Francis would have needed the John Jones fight to get even close to any of Conor's numbers, if we're talking about pay-per-view sales. Not only that, Francis is reported to get a percentage of the pay-per-view. This is unusual. Usually in the contracts, the fighters just get pay-per-view points, but Francis is getting a large share. So this could mean anything. I haven't found the information disclosed on how big of a share this is, but I believe it will be quite large, since we're looking at 10 million at least to show for Francis. Now, this is not even all that this deal had in it. We all know from Chatri in 1FC, for example, Francis wanted to get that chairman / equity position in the company. With the PFL, Francis will get a place in the global advisory board, a leadership place. And in addition to that, Francis will receive equity in PFL Africa, and he will be the chairman of PFL Africa. Now, to be honest, I'm not that familiar with how PFL run their shit, so I don't know. These positions could be absolutely sham-worthy, or they could potentially be really huge in the future. We'll see. I don't have the expertise on how the business structure is set up inside the PFL. I know it's a young and upcoming league and they got a lot of investors, so they're looking at the long game with this. It has to be that. I mean, this is an absolutely risky move for the PFL. For sure, they probably will make a loss in the short term with this kind of play. Francis has managed to secure the best deal anyone has seen in MMA, point blank. I mean, you can't even compare Conor McGregor's deals with the UFC to this, because Conor got so much money in the UFC because he's such a fucking big draw. With Francis, he hasn't pulled that much. He hasn't pulled that big numbers. I mean, if you look at his last fight, he pulled in 300,000 or something around that number against Gane. And he still gets paid 8 figures to show. This is fucking insane. Conor McGregor doesn't have that good deals, it's obvious. Conor gets most of his money from the pay-per-view buys and the share he gets from that. So for Francis to pull this off, this is absolutely incredible for the dude. I'm happy for him. I mean, you go, Francis. You were a free agent, everybody in the media ridiculed you, and now you got the bag. You didn't fumble the bag. I know Ariel Helwan is probably crying in the shower right now. He's so happy. He will get to piss off all the naysayers. And Uncle Dana will be, I don't know, someone put that man on suicide watch. But yeah, guys, comment down below, who do you think's gonna fight Francis in the PFL? I've honestly no clue, and he could maybe go the boxing route as well. But hey, it was your boy C-Level Goat. I'm out.